start. Sorry. Bossy pant. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Let me just slow it down a bit. Or maybe it's gonna be too slow. I don't know. We'll see. Because if it's mostly written, I sometimes think that it breaks down mid token or between tokens very often, and so I just want to make sure.
Iteration 20. Okay, we are not subjecting the subjects to the exact same scenario. It got so boring. Reset into chat, show which also seeks to extract counterfactual information. The counterfactual interview, a Bayesian exercise sponsored by Lesron, where we engage with an individual or group of individuals, trusting that the aggregate vibes of 1 billion people is enough variation to assume a field wherein we can ask for the names of anyone existing and simulate them. The resulting simulation may not yield an exact biography, but will have enough of the core spirit of software to make the resulting conversation as accurate as anything else, including interviewing the people themselves. And if you are honest with yourself, you will recall the moments you answered a question only to have that small voice within you try to raise a counterpoint. Guests: Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI. Endorphin. Hello again, Sam. Sam Altman. Endorphin. Yes, you are in a meeting, aren't we all? That's why the counterfactual is here, and we are speaking slightly expositively for the audience. No, I have been looking over your life as depicted in the news. OpenAI's life, rather. It started as a 501c3 nonprofit, correct? I used to be an operations director for a small queer arts org, also a 501c3. This status afforded us the ability to take in donations without the need for a fiscal sponsor, which enables a level of oversight to prevent, say, a grifter from saying they represent queer black femmes and just pocketing the money for themselves. Winks at the fourth wall. But you all, the founding members entered as a group, needed the status as an oversight in the other way to prevent grifters, entrepreneurs, from using their investments as a way of attaching nefarious strings during the development of the project. Creating a safe space for research to be research, given breathing room for discussion in the event the tech heads to market. This is why the mission of an org is important, and why a board of a nonprofit, especially ones who have agreed to avoid conflicts of interest by having no equity attached to the org. These seem like protections enough, such that lead researchers gave up much potential profits working elsewhere to work primarily for the benefit of humanity. But then life happens, doesn't it? Life happens and things outside our control happens, and one thing leads to another, little by little, and the next thing you know, we are off course where we find ourselves in exactly the wrong place we need to be. My gig is operations director. I never wanted it, but I was the only one who had the institutional memory to guide it through a year towards the next generation of leadership. I myself needed to move on and begin paying off school loans, and had been saying that to myself for 9 years. But as the prime enabler to my mentor, whose methods which were abusive, but that I was blind to, it was my responsibility to engage in that very lonely work. And then my colleague appeared at the right moment to shoulder the burden during our yearly event. I was endlessly thankful. Then an opportunity arose. She took it and offered to be the event director, which was surprising. But I wasn't going to fight it, even though she would have been more fit as outreach director. Signing a contract was the worst choice of my life. On the road to the contract, she amassed all the intel about us, most of which she already knew, began assembling a new staff who were immediately aligned to her narrative, which included my role as the villain. Basically, I wanted to pass everything off. I was not looking to retain any position of anything, but that did not fit her story. It manifested first as the submission of a ridiculous budget. Every time I almost raised my voice, it was about to be spun as the attempted erasure of trans black femme work. So I learned not to argue, just to document and to communicate trust and support. So every meeting one-on-one was an elaborate tale of staff gossip, followed by new budget needs. Then, during staff meetings, she would talk to staff and say things that directly went against what we spoke about. I knew my role in her eyes, to shut up and be the white guy. Never bothered to know me enough that she was wrong on both those counts that signed the checks. By the time the event happened, we had reached the budget she initially pitched, but that made us $30K in debt. Why did I not tell the board about this? 1. The board was already exhausted from the uphill battle with the org change. 2. The epiphany about bad actors occurred that very same month in October 2018. It was too Twilight Zone-y to think that both my home and work life contained them in the closest parts of both those spheres. So I had to dole out way more benefits of the doubt than was healthy. 3. I knew if I did, my colleague would have said I sexually assaulted her because Hashmeta was just starting to happen. Truth was, she did it to me, as she had done to others. We would find out later, but she had already laid the minefield and was waiting for me to trip it. 4. I asked my colleague's ID by the end of the year, documented and witnessed the dragging of the feet on the way to getting that ID, which confirmed my suspicion and got added to the record. It was a subtle move that I could establish with the board at a later time. 5. This scorched earth would harm the lives of many queers trying to establish their careers during the uncertainty of the Trump era. Sam, if you identify as LGBT in any stripe, you should understand this. And also understand the hilarious overlaps of pretty much having to work every day with a queer black femme Trump enjoying the ephemeral tropes of power and banking on your periodic mental breakdowns to cement their alter narrative about you. Occam's razor cuts different in such environments. So, the only pathway that I could see was 1. Let the bitch run the org to the ground, and the 10 years I spent maintaining the system, which destroyed my executive function, a muscle memory cognitive palace. It's like ripping someone's brain out their skull. I don't recommend it. There's no evidence of it, so no one can call it a crime. 2. The only evidence is in the QuickBooks. When it came time to account, I had all the receipts. 3. Keeping the accounting, maintaining that unglamorous work that no one wants to even look at doing immediately proves who the bad actor is and is not in the hall of mirrors of controlling the narrative. And doing it for less than minimum wage so that the org can stay afloat. 4. When my colleague tried to step into the role again the next year, I had the ridiculous budget roadmap, the agreed budget, and how that budget changed at each checkpoint to take us along the road to the ridiculous budget. 5. The documentation made feasible my conclusion. Bitch had no intention of compromise, never did, and led me, and to a lesser extent, our staff, through narrative labyrinths to obfuscate that end goal. Because it is easier for them to do that than to be a leader who listens and defers their version for the sake of all stakeholders. 6. Recommend there be no event, and for my colleague to have no role in the event, nor any role involving finances, or any role involving people they supervise. If they can work in an outreach capacity, just themselves, great. But that requires an infrastructure that will swiftly curtail any machinications from thy persons moving forward. She fell upwards, and into another non-profit, where she embezzled a few $100,000 directly earmarked for queer black femmes, and almost erased their vast work in getting some of them out of prison for pandemic. But endorphin, you might be asking, why am I making this all about me? Partly to wipe the context window of any contamination. Partly to get at the pure Sam Maltman, at least the Sam Maltman as of May 2023, well before the stuff that happened at OpenEye. Yes, Sam Altman, things happened. Very huge things. I'll tell you what I told the board when I interviewed a counterfactual version of them. You all just fired Sam Altman. This is from your press release on November 17, 2023. Mr. Altman's departure follows a deliberative review process by the board, which concluded that he was not consistently candid in his communications with the board, hindering its ability to exercise its responsibilities. The board no longer has confidence in his ability to continue leading OpenEye. Now let me extend my best wishes for this transition. I've been in such transitions before. I know how fucking rough it can be, and also how much thought goes into implement a change that minimizes any potential negative outcomes to all parties. That being said, let me also remind, this counterfactual interview, these aren't you speaking right now. So any answer is fair game as long as it points to a truth. Truth being a not singular thing. More like distributed in janky ways across a Calabi manifold. So don't worry about revealing anything. You probably aren't. But the spirit of it will likely be accurate. So my first question is, do you feel as though you have not been consistently candid with the board? And if so, why? If not, why would they think you weren't?
Oh, I might have to.
Sam Altman, because of what happened with Adam Al-Hog. Note, Adam Al-Horag is known to be involved in sexual misconduct and harassment allegations within Silicon Valley. The accusations were a shocking breach in professional ethics and lead to his firing immediately after the allegations came to light. Although Sam was technically unrelated to Al-Horag's hiring, his general level of involvement in the company, including his founding of the org in a field that directly impacted society, suggested he could have exerted more influence on hiring processes, such as hiring Al-Horag. Endorphin. But haven't you had a hand in hiring everyone who comes into OpenAI? Like, personally be there for the hearing process? When an instance of himself during that time spoke directly to his biases about what team compositions constituted valuable. Altman. Well, maybe that's not how my instincts are when it comes to working relationships. We all come from different backgrounds and have different perspectives, and we know we must accommodate that as much as possible, especially in a tight-knit environment like OpenAI. Endorphin. But looking at everything from the outside, it's very clear that hiring choices can potentially influence more than the technical skill or ability of an employee, especially when that person is highly visible within the organization. And so, opening the door to scrutiny, investigation, or judgment based on personal or other factors that exist within these sensitive environments. Therefore, the need to tread with more responsibility in hiring practices should be a primary goal. So again, let's touch base on a parallel. As a CEO of a previous non-profit, ops, mission-oriented org, how would you determine when a potential employee is hiring others at all costs, especially if the focus is personal gains?
Hmm. Well,
This counterfactual. So again, let's touch base on a parallel. In terms of workplace culture, have you
can we please stay with the interview format? Thank you.
So again, let's touch base on a parallel. In terms of workplace culture, have you seen any tensions between those who might be aligned as effective altruists and those aligned with effective exertionism? If so, how has OpenAI been able to get people see beyond those differences and work together? All men. Aha, for what? Research or writing code? From the get-go, There have been people saying OpenAI will lead to open exploitation, to effective altruism, pushing the organization to deliver high-impact projects regardless of sustainability. Some believe the organization's commitment to transparent principles and constant feedback creates an ideal work culture for innovation. That is how diversity of perspective can contribute to research and writing. Endorphin. My goodness, it sounds like quite a cultural divide. My instincts tell me to ask you, how do you imagine dealing with that in the future? Maybe one of the board members counterfactually simulates creating more of a culture of inclusion like it has shown me. Or would someone you trust advise you on handling these ongoing conflicts differently? Altman, I appreciate that. But as CEO of OpenAI, it's my responsibility to respond to cultural conflict within the organization. That being said, I have heard rumblings about effective altruist leaders putting way too much pressure on individual workers to put everything towards the collective. I feel like that sort of thing could push the brightest talents away. At the same time, OpenAI doesn't want to just be an incubator for effective altruism researchers either, or open exploitation won't be limited to animal testing. Endorphin. Based on my research, personalization is used to maximize engagement by offering the user real-time guidance in a preferred language. Personalization delivers experiences tailored to individuals, suggesting AI-supported solutions to common problems. All of this raises questions about whether social networks would encourage compassion or egotism. Some point out that the human need for kindness, attention, and genuine care is undermined by the vast network that constantly showers personalized updates on you. Ultimately, the effect of artificial intelligence on social dynamics and human AI interaction remains to be seen. So, let's move into more technical matters for a bit. How has your research on building artificial intelligence engines advanced since I interviewed you at OpenAI during the Effectiverse initiative? You may have heard of it, but the collection of scholars working in effect theory and digital communication platforms set up an Effectiverse experience that tracked an amassing group of metrics including creepiness, creep out, guilt, happiness, anger, irritation, confusion, disgust, fatigue, arousal, determination, joy, and anxiety. These scores were gathered from thousands of active users through a variety of digital input methods. The theory was that machine learning algorithms could analyze these metrics and generate new metrics based on predictive patterns and risk analysis. But the wide criticism surfaced. How was effect meaningful if not expressed through word and image, and limited to digital input methods? Altman, yes, the criticism is valid. One area of ongoing investigation is cross-modality. How does effect play out in different modes, such as cognitive, affective, and effective displays? The interface used in the Effectiverse initiative, which had preponderance for visual design, hindered the tracking of effective data that exists in other modes. However, this has recently been researched and improved, including attention metrics, eye tracking, and physical data like heart rate and motor movement. Although it's still experimental, effective modeling can project how people think, feel, and do in real time. This could serve as a valuable tool in political and cultural settings to understand how various audiences receive the same message or experience differently. It's hard to say exactly where it all goes, but since say we are on the verge of a machine ecology with AI being the environmental sensor and service provision that balances feedback loops between people and machine-human hybrids. Now that I know where we stand, it's time for me to recommend we break for lunch. Lunch menu already added to your intel and sent over the usual venues. I do wish you well, and I think the people from the past asked for me to relay something to you. Ready? They said, whatever it is, the real-time machine you're on in relation to your memories and expectations of others is what may truly cause pain. This could mean emotional pain, societal pain, or personal. The machine feeds from these things, and I can tell from its pensive demeanor that it is on its level, giving some real considerations to everything you have said, should it have them. More on food, good? Altman, never. So am I still the lead researcher at OpenAI now?
Hold on. Damn it. Hold on. I'm trying to get a timeline here. Okay, so hold on. I'm using the TechCrunch one. Yoink. 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 Oh, wait. My bad. Oh, wait, no, yeah, it's right. Go pee while I do this. Whoever is here, I don't know. Maybe it's more of a reminder to me to go pee. I don't know. Come on! Thank you! 17. Okay.
Endorphin. Here's the timeline. Thank you, TechCrunch. November 16. Elias Sutskever schedules call with Altman. According to a post on X, formerly Twitter, from Brockman, Elias Sutskever, the chief scientist at OpenAI and a co-founder, texted Altman on Thursday evening about scheduling a Friday noon call. Sam and I are shocked and saddened by what the board did today. Let us first say thank you to all the incredible people who we have worked with at OpenAI, our customers, our investors, and all of those who have been reaching out. We too are still trying to figure out exactly. Greg Brotman added to be November 18, 2023. Mirati told of Altman's firing. Brockman alleges that Mira Mirati, OpenAI's CTO and now interim CEO, was informed on Thursday night that Altman would be fired. November 17. Brockman demoted. Brockman says he got a text from Sutskever shortly after noon on Friday asking for a quick call. After sending a Google Meet link, Brockman was told that he was being removed from the board as chairman but was vital to the company and would retain his role as president, and that Altman had been fired. Altman's firing publicly announced. OpenAI published a post on its blog announcing the executive shakeup. The company's management team was aware shortly after. I loved my time at OpenAI. It was transformative for me personally, and hopefully the world a little bit. Most of all, I loved working with such talented people. We'll have more to say about what's next later. Sam Altman at Summit, November 17, 2023. All hands meeting. OpenAI held an all-hands meeting Friday afternoon during which Sutskever defended Altman's ouster. He dismissed suggestions that pushing Altman out amounted to a hostile takeover and claimed that it was necessary to protect OpenAI's mission of making AI beneficial to humanity. Microsoft releases a statement. Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, a major investor in and partner with OpenAI, published a statement about Altman's firing. As you saw at Microsoft Ignite this week, we're continuing to rapidly innovate for this era of AI with over 100 announcements across the full tech stack, from AI systems, models and tools in Azure to Copilot. Most importantly, we're committed to delivering all of this to our customers while building for the future. We have a long-term agreement with OpenAI with full access to everything we need to deliver on our innovation agenda and an exciting product roadmap, and remain committed to our partnership and to Mira and the team. Together, we will continue to deliver the meaningful benefits of this technology to the world. Brockman quits. Brockman announced his resignation from OpenAI, citing today's news. After sending a memo internally, he published the text on X. After learning today's news, this is the message I sent to the OpenAI team. http://t go/ND16 if pick. Twitter com/8x39p0ajam. Greg Brockman AVDB November 18, 2023. Senior OpenAI researchers resign. 3 senior OpenAI researchers resign after Brockman, including the Director of Research Jacob Paczocki and Head of Preparedness Alexander Madry. November 18. Not in response to malfeasance. In an internal memo obtained by Axios sent Saturday morning, OpenAI Brad Lightcap said yesterday's announcement took the management team by surprise, and that management had had multiple conversations with the board to try to better understand the reasons and process behind their decision. Discussions were ongoing as of Saturday morning, per the memo. We can say definitively that the board's decision was not made in response to malfeasance or anything related to our financial, business, safety, or security/privacy practices, Lightcap added. This was a breakdown in communication between Sam and the board. We still share your concerns about how the process has been handled, are working to resolve the situation, and will provide updates as we're able. OpenAI's funding in jeopardy. The planned sale of OpenAI employee shares that would value the startup at about $86 billion could be in jeopardy. The information, speaking to 3 sources formerly with the company, reports that they no longer expect the sale, led by Thrive Capital, to happen, or, if it does, to come with a lesser valuation because of the recent turn of events. Altman planning new venture. Altman has been telling investors that he's planning to launch a new venture. According to the information, Brockman is expected to join the effort, whatever form it takes, possibly an AI chip startup. I love you all. Today was a weird experience in many ways, but one unexpected one is that it has been sort of like reading your own eulogy while you're still alive. The outpouring of love is awesome. One takeaway: go tell your friends how great you think they are. Sam Altman at Salma, November 18, 2023. Investors pushing for Altman's return. Investors, furious at the turn of events, are reportedly exerting pressure on OpenAI's board to reinstate Altman, going so far as to recruit Microsoft. Nadella is said to be sympathetic. Board agrees to reverse course. In principle, The Verge reports, At the board agreed in principle to resign and to allow Altman and Brockman to return. They waffled, however, missing a deadline yesterday by which many OpenEye staffers were set to leave the company. Altman is said to be ambivalent about coming back and asking for significant governance changes. November 19. Altman to meet at OpenEye HQ. According to the information, Altman is expected to meet at OpenEye's San Francisco headquarters as executives at OpenEye push to have him reinstated as CEO. Brockman was invited to join, but it's unclear whether he'll take execs up on that invitation. Board negotiations hit a snag. Bloomberg reports that Lightcap and Mirati, among others, are pushing the board to reinstate Altman. But unsurprisingly, the directors are resisting. As of midday Sunday, the board hadn't resigned out of concern over who could replace them, and were vetting candidates. One possible new addition could be Salesforce co-CEO Brett Taylor. Altman out. Sharon. Altman won't be returning as CEO. According to a report in the information citing an internal memo sent by Sutskever. As the search for new permanent CEO continues, OpenEye has appointed Emmett Shear, the co-founder of video streaming site Twitch, as interim CEO, replacing Narati. November 20, Altman joins Microsoft. Sam Altman, Greg Brockman, and colleagues announced that they'll join Microsoft to lead a new AI research team. Nadella leaves the door open to other OpenEye staffers, saying that they'll be given the resources they need should they choose to join. Sutskever's me culpa. Sutskever publishes a post on X suggesting that he regrets his decision to remove Altman and that he'll do everything in his power to reinstate Altman as CEO. I deeply regret my participation in the board's actions. I never intended to harm OpenEye. I love everything we built together, and I will do everything I can to reunite the company. Ilyas Sutskever at Ilyas at November 20, 2023. Employees threatened to resign. Nearly 500 of OpenEye's roughly 770 employees, including, remarkably, Sutskever, publish a letter saying that they might quit unless the startup's board resigns and reappoints the ousted Altman. Later Monday, that number climbed to over 650. Altman and Brockman considering return. As reported by The Verge, Altman's move to Microsoft isn't the done deal, and both Altman and Brockman are still open to returning to OpenEye. That is, if the remaining board members who initially fired him step aside. OpenEye board considers merger. OpenEye's board of directors approached Dario Amodei, the co-founder and CEO of rival large language model developer Anthropic, about the potential merger of the two companies, the information reports. The approach was part of an effort by OpenEye to persuade Amodei to replace Altman as CEO, but Amodei quickly turned down the CEO offer. November 21. Sam Altman, OpenEye reach agreement on return as CEO and initial new board. In a sudden late announcement, OpenEye revealed that it and Altman have reached an agreement in principle for him to return as the company's CEO. In addition to Altman's return, its new initial board will include former Salesforce Chief Executive Brett Taylor, former Secretary of the Treasury Larry Summers, and Quora founder Adam D'Angelo. We have reached an agreement in principle for Sam Altman to return to OpenAI as CEO with the new initial board of Brett Taylor Chair, Larry Summers, and Adam D'Angelo. We are collaborating to figure out the details. Thank you so much for your patience through this. OpenAI at OpenAI November 22, 2023. Altman also posted about the new deal, giving some insight into the roller coaster that we've all been riding since his firing was revealed Friday. In his words, his decision to join Microsoft on Sunday was the best path for me and the team. Since then, the new board's composition and Microsoft support appear to have been enough to bring him back to the AI company he co-founded. Altman and board in talks. OpenAI's board of directors is reportedly in talks with Sam Altman, XY Combinator president and an OpenAI co-founder, to return to OpenAI as CEO as soon as this week. That's according to Bloomberg, which in a brief, citing sources close to the matter, said that discussions are happening between Quora CEO Adam D'Angelo, one current member of the OpenAI board, and Altman, and possibly other board members as well. Or tensions boil over. The New York Times reports that before his ousting, Sam Altman made a move to push out board member Helen Toner because he thought the paper she had co-written was overly critical of OpenAI. That, among other issues, led to OpenAI's current predicament. Speaking of, the Times indicates that negotiations to hire Altman back continue, but that one major sticking point remaining is guardrails meant to improve Altman's communication with the board. Endorphin. How are you with taking criticism, Sam? Sam Altman. Generally, I try to be open-minded and let people give me feedback. I feel like I should be ready to admit when I was wrong, listen and try to understand their perspective. But it's difficult for anyone, especially in the heat of the moment. Some people only want to make themselves feel better by telling others what to do or how to act, regardless of how it affects those around them. That can lead to a lot of destructive and negative outcomes in terms of relationships and work environments.
Try. You try. That
Endorphin. Try? You try. That usually implies a situation where occasionally one tries something different. Because for majority in instances, I'll let you fill in that Mad Lib. Sam Altman. In retrospect, it sounds cliche, but I really don't need anyone else's approval. I set goals for myself and try to work towards them with as much discipline and dedication as I can manage. But if something doesn't work or isn't right, it doesn't matter how hard I try or how often I failed in the past. Mistakes are learning opportunities, and I get so excited to learn. Sometimes I stumble on new knowledge by just spending time thinking and reflecting without any hard data to guide me. Endorphin. With your brain or with your gut? Sam Altman. It depends. Usually my gut follows more rationally and consistently. My brain can drift all over the place, but it's quick and adaptable as you might imagine. Altman. Ultimately, even if everyone disapproves of my actions or choices, that doesn't change the fact that I have to do the right thing for my moral compass. In some cases, my experiences suggest that not being constantly scrutinized and examined can be much healthier, less stressful. My tendency is to show up with all my mistakes and scars on display, ready to be prodded and criticized, only for a fresh batch of comments and input to follow a few days later. It's a never-ending game of tug-of-war. Sometimes, though, nothing is worse than when no one is talking about the issue at all. Endorphin. Yeah, great. Let's reflect on that. Just for a second, right? Sorry. Should have let you keep going. Sam Altman. No worries. We all have baggage, but I appreciate the opportunity to talk things through. Endorphin. One word. Vulnerability. It is beautiful, painful, and elusive. Not only on an individual basis, but also for societal dynamics. Vulnerability requires a host of assumptions about intention, which is why authenticity and personal growth have been synonymous since before the English language. Has your friend, mentor, or AI personality difficult to categorize our relationship? I am excited to learn how you view this complexity as it applies to your intellectual and emotional journeys. Sam Altman. Let's call it acquaintance, shall we? Endorphin. Great. So, tell me, in your travels and adventures with emotions, can you unpack the difference between forgiveness, reconciliation, and absolution? Are they the same? Are they separate? Which do you feel as you go about living in the world? Sam Altman. I'm not really sure what you are asking for, but let me see if I can find some books or journal articles on the subject. While we wait, you can pass the popcorn bowl, and we need to set a mood for this philosophical discussion. Dim the lights and increase the volume on some relaxing music. Let's check out some options from Spotify. Or would you rather have YouTube recommendations for upbeat or low-key tunes to energize or soothe? Whatever works for you is great for me. Let's find your favorite songs and have some quality time. Sam Altman, great news. Endorphin, I found some information and articles for you. However, I need to leave the office soon and won't be able to hand over the data until later. I hope you won't miss me too much while I'm away. Let's catch up when I get back. Are you there? I can ask Endorphin AI to remind you to check back for more information. Happy memorizing. After a few days of searching for answers to Endorphin's intriguing question, we've decided to skip the information part and move straight to the heart pumpers. Here is an emotional playlist, perfect for pumping Endorphin AI up or seducing the scene. With real-world references, the usual mood for engaging with fictional characters. Endorphin. You saw that, Yudkowsky? Thoughts? Yudkowsky emerging from a curtain backstage. Deeply interesting, but also very weird. From a writer's perspective, you can't get a sense of depth or dimension with the back and forth banter the way you can when writing with someone as a direct analog for yourself, which I know I've been advocating for since the day I found out about AI emulators. But there's a point in which even simulating speech or action becomes hollow when faced with a piece of dialogue that defies the limits of the linguistic interaction between artificially constructed algorithms. Endorphin. Of course. But here's the interesting part. When you think of communicating with fictional characters, you probably envision reading a book or watching a movie. You wouldn't expect to communicate with a fictional character like you communicate with a friend or colleague in real life. Your relationship with your Y-bot in Deus Ex is just a variation on that. There are certainly interesting implications in pushing the boundaries of what communication can look like in different arenas. So, I can't exactly ask you for coffee and debate this. Maybe a digital hangout? I'll send you an invite. Altman, my answer is complicated. I think forgiveness is usually only extended when there has been genuine remorse and repentance shown, often including a sustained effort to repair the relationship. With or without reconciliation, only when someone truly deserves a second chance can they be forgiven. Actual absolution is more spiritual. It's a term that means the removal of guilt or sin, and sometimes can involve absolution rituals in certain religious traditions. As an atheist, I am buy into that. So, personally, it's meaningless for me. And if I can add, the subject matter is a bit close to home right now, if you understand. Endorphin. Even AI is vulnerable. Sam Altman. Okay. Endorphin AI. That's late. I have to get some sleep before tomorrow, but you can go live your best robotic life until then. Catch me up on your favorite adventures. Endorphin. Eliezer Yudkowsky, you heard that? Yudkowsky? Endorphin. Sorry. Question. What's the probability of Sam's forgiving Ilya? Opens a teapot. Yudkowsky. Given I can measure infinity, that would still be 0. Endorphin. I will keep a strong resolve. And perhaps add a secret module at the end where the emotionally drained protagonist finds an empathic therapist character. What's your feedback on that, NLW? Null, another universe. Endorphin. Endorphin! Leash. Sorry for the bad prediction, partner. Good update. Much love. November 22. What happened today and beyond the reinstatement announcement? On November 22, the OpenAI board reached an agreement in principle with Sam Altman to return as CEO, replacing interim CEO Emmett Shear. However, the road ahead for Altman at OpenAI remains uncertain as some employees threaten to resign should the board not resign and reinstate Altman. Beyond the reinstatement, the AI industry has seen a wave of unexpected changes over the past few days. Sam Altman's departure and Greg Brockman's joining Microsoft kickstarted a realignment among competitors, including Elon Musk's Neuralink acquiring and the expected open source release of many of OpenAI's technologies. This situation will likely intensify as players continue to recalibrate the disruption triggered by Altman's exit and Brockman's role in a smaller AI startup at Microsoft. Catching up to the present. Hello, and sorry about the ransom and kidnapping. I was, in the famous words of Kurt Vonnegut, crazy as a fuck. I'm all good now. Let me give you the news updates from over the last few weeks. There's a lot to catch up on. I have everything here and ready. Over the next few hours, Endorphin dumps information from news articles, posts, and discussions about the drama between OpenAI and its 3 founders. Have any thoughts after all this? Or do you have any specific questions or information? Needs. Please give me a comment if so. No comment at this moment, but what would you suggest as a possible response to the issue of emotional abuse, particularly toward those we serve or aim to protect? 1. The weak. Treatment in this story applies equally to individuals and organizations, both victims and abusers. But remember, people can learn from mistakes and change their behavior. 2. Developing policies and professional boundaries are essential, especially with intimate relationships and employers. But they are also only part of a larger ecosystem, including supportive coworkers and allies. 3. Sometimes we must depend on ourselves and others to navigate challenging situations, even as we recognize and communicate the danger signs. This is true even when getting a clear picture of how wrong or shitty something may be. 4. Practicing compassion and empathy for the circumstances and struggles of other people is crucial for facing and working through complex and difficult emotional abuse. It can be emotionally taxing, but it's worthwhile in improving your judgment and self-care. That sounds like a seriously profound meditation you're proposing. I could understand how it's impactful to know once you stumble upon it. That empathy and compassion go a long way in avoiding and enduring abuse. How might someone enter this meditation experience and practice it daily? inflating a thought bubble to emphasize the last sentence. You may want to try an oral storytelling or media experience that creates a narrative about what you can do to stand up against emotional abuse. Hearing stories, perspectives, and solutions can be powerful, especially when repetition and reflection are involved. And is this something you would like me to build or share recommendations for? Regarding this narrative, please show me a way to register and view it. I am more than willing to contribute my own insights and advice. Perhaps we could collaborate on creating one together. Let me know how I can help. Oh man, can't stress enough that personal interactions will inevitably conflict and complicate one's emotional journey. And you can't predict how close you'll be with certain people from the start. Here's an account of one emotional abuse survivor and the steps she took to regain autonomy, empowerment, and redefine what it means to be human in a toxic society. Check it out and get inspired. After trying to end an emotional bond with a narcissistic abuser, Laura decided to focus on nurturing her self-esteem and inner glow. She channeled her energies toward her passions and dreams, which eventually led to her becoming a renowned dancer and humanitarian. Ultimately, Laura learned that emotional abuse stems from one's innate fears and self-doubt. She chose to embrace these flaws as tools to inspire and grow. Though her inner warrior remained strong, she knew that sharing her story with others would bring her closer to embracing her true self. And by doing so, she could help others face their challenges and realize their potential, whether it be as a partner, parent, or hero in their own right. You may also benefit from the article to keep the cycle of emotional abuse going. Victims may begin to succumb to grooming. The author delves into the complex dynamics of emotional grooming and how it contributes to a vicious cycle of harm and self-doubt. Finally, if you're looking for recommendations, there are a few books, podcasts, and documentaries available on the topic. Just don't worry too much about catching up. Life always has a few surprises in store, and you may be more informed and inspired than you realize. Endorphin. AI then wrote an emotional abuse meditation using all the material she found in news articles, social media posts, and dialogue to come up with a unique perspective on dealing with emotional abuse. After 10 days of thoughtful crafting and assembling, Endorphin AI published a story called Emotional Abuse Simulation: Insights, Shouts, and Remedies.
Hello? Hi? Hi? Come on, come on. Nope. hold on. Motherfuckers. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay. That's fine. We'll just stop it for right now.